Behind the scenes at the Jefferson Health Training Complex, something is happening that is about to shake up the power structure of the Eagles, my friend. One of the most important men in the Philadelphia front office, someone who worked alongside Howie Roseman for more than a decade, just closed a deal to walk out the door. And the destination? A rivalry that is growing right inside the NFC. The question is, what does the departure of this executive mean for the future of the Eagles? I'm going to explain who this man is, what he did behind the scenes, and why this loss could be more serious than it looks at first glance. But first, if you are a die-hard Eagles fan, hit that like button and subscribe right now. Because this story says a lot about what happens when you build one of the best organizations in the NFL. You become a target for everybody. Here is the deal. One of the most respected senior executives in NFL front office operations just agreed to leave Philadelphia to join the Atlanta Falcons, where he will take on the role of Senior Vice President of Football Administration and Senior Personnel Executive. In other words, the Falcons reached directly into Howie Roseman's inner circle and pulled out one of his most trusted lieutenants, and they are about to place him in a position of enormous power in Georgia. The name of that executive? Bryce Johnston. And what is Johnston going to do in Atlanta? He will lead the entire salary cap strategy for the Falcons, serve as the team's primary contract negotiator, and act as a key advisor to General Manager Ian Cunningham and President of Football Operations Matt Ryan on roster construction and long-term planning. In other words, this is a real promotion with expanded responsibilities, and it is not hard to understand why Johnston said yes. But to understand the true weight of this loss, you need to know who Bryce Johnston really is. Johnston arrived at the Jefferson Health Training Complex in 2016 as a football administration intern. He started from the very bottom, learning the craft alongside some of the best executives in the league. And from that point on, he climbed step by step. In 2017, he became Football Administration Coordinator. In 2019, he was already Director of Football Administration. In 2021, he received the title of Senior Director of Football Transactions. In 2022, he was elevated to Vice President of Football Transactions and Strategic Planning. And in the years that followed, he took on many of the responsibilities that previously belonged to Jake Rosenberg, Roseman's former right-hand man, who was also eventually pulled away by another team. Johnston became the man who managed the day-to-day operations of Eagles football, with a sharp focus on the salary cap and contract negotiations. Do you know what that means in practice? It means that every time Howie Roseman needed to sit down with an agent to discuss a player extension, Johnston was in that room. Every time the Eagles needed to restructure a contract to create cap space, Johnston was deep inside those numbers. Every time a financial decision had to be made that would determine whether the team could keep a player or had to cut him, Johnston was one of the most important voices in that conversation. For 10 years, this man lived inside the Roseman system and learned every detail of how the Eagles operate financially. And now that knowledge is going to Atlanta. The real question becomes, how much is this going to cost the Eagles? Not in dollars, because the departure of a front office executive does not have a direct impact on the salary cap. But in terms of institutional knowledge, in terms of the ramp-up time for whoever replaces him, and in terms of the ability to maintain the same quality of behind-the-scenes operations, that is the real cost. And it is worth pointing out that this is not the first loss of this kind in recent memory. Before Johnston, another Philadelphia executive also ended up in Atlanta. Jeff Scott, Vice President of Football Operations for the Eagles, accepted the role of Assistant General Manager with the Falcons, working directly for Ian Cunningham, who, by the way, is also a former Eagles executive. Think about that for a moment. The Eagles are essentially building the Falcons' front office. Two key executives in a row, going to the same team. That raises a legitimate question. Is Atlanta assembling an entire football department directly out of Howie Roseman's playbook? Cunningham spent years inside the Philadelphia system before being hired by the Falcons to lead their football operations. And now he is systematically recruiting the people he trusts, people he knows, people he has worked with, people who understand how the Eagles think and how they operate. That is a smart strategy on Atlanta's part. But it is a concerning development for Philadelphia. Johnston's departure did not come completely out of nowhere. According to the original report, the Eagles already anticipated some degree of front office attrition following the 2026 NFL Draft. When you run an organization as well managed as Philadelphia, with a reputation built over years of smart moves and championships, you naturally become a factory for executive talent. Every team in the NFL wants to bring in people who learned from the best. And the Eagles, in recent years, have produced some of the most coveted executives in the league. But that also has a price. Every time an executive walks out the door, the team loses layers of institutional knowledge that take years to rebuild. And when you are competing to win the Super Bowl, every detail matters, including the efficiency of behind-the-scenes operations. Johnston's departure also makes us think about a broader dynamic inside the NFL. In recent years, it has become increasingly clear that the salary cap is one of the most powerful weapons a general manager has at his disposal. Teams that manage the cap well can retain elite players, make strategic extensions, and reinvent themselves every offseason without having to rebuild from scratch. The Eagles are the gold standard for that. Howie Roseman is frequently cited as one of the best cap managers in recent NFL history, and part of the credit goes precisely to men like Johnston, who executed those strategies on a daily basis. So when Atlanta takes Johnston, they are not just hiring an executive. They are hiring a mindset, a way of thinking about money, about contracts, about how to build a sustainable roster over time. The Falcons are essentially trying to copy the Eagles model, and they are doing it by hiring the engineers who built that model. Taking a step back, who takes over now in Philadelphia? According to available information, a strong internal candidate is Adam Berry, the team's current vice president of football operations and strategy. Berry is the twin brother of Cleveland Browns general manager Andrew Berry, and you guessed it, another former Eagles executive. It is almost poetic. The Berry family has deep roots in the Philadelphia system, and Adam Berry is described internally as someone with enormous potential to grow within the organization. But a Berry promotion, if it happens, will also create an opening below him, and so the front office reshuffling continues. That is the reality for a team that systematically exports talent to the rest of the league. You are always repositioning pieces on the board, always developing the next generation of executives while trying to maintain operational consistency. Johnston's own statement was genuinely moving. He thanked Jeffrey Lurie, Howie Roseman, and Don Smolensky for what he described as 10 years of a unique opportunity. He recognized Jake Rosenberg as the mentor who opened the doors of his career, and he was specific about what led him to accept Atlanta's offer: the chance to work again with former colleagues, in this case, Ian Cunningham and likely Jeff Scott, at an organization he clearly believes is on the rise. That tells us something important. This was not a departure driven by frustration. Johnston was not angry at anyone. He simply received an opportunity that he himself described as rare. The chance to take everything he learned in Philadelphia and apply it to a new challenge alongside people he trusts. That speaks well of Johnston as a professional, but it also speaks well of Roseman and the culture he has built. When your employees leave happy, when they thank you publicly and say it was a privilege to work there, you are doing something right. With the departures of Johnston and Scott, what should Howie Roseman's next move be to make sure the Eagles front office keeps operating at the same level? Who is the next name inside the organization ready to step forward? And how far does the Eagles model's influence reach across the NFL? How many other teams will keep hiring Philadelphia executives trying to replicate Roseman's success? Leave your opinion in the comments. Who do you think steps into Johnston's role? Do you believe the Eagles model will take a hit from these departures? Or does Roseman always find a way to replace the replaceable? Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. I'll be back later to keep you updated with the latest Eagles news.